What is going on, everybody, and welcome to another Beta Memoirs. And today was quite the interesting day. We've had a major gap down. We had news on essentially the United Kingdom being shut down or put them at a high level risk because of the variants. There was a lot of different news about the China hack on Microsoft. I know President Biden has come out and also said some different things. There's been a lot going on today, and the market really struggled to sell, first of all, and then it struggled to actually bounce back. It looks like that last hourly candle, we did bounce back towards the end of the day. I'm still very bullish unless something dramatically different comes from China. I know tonight China, I think, is actually reporting some sort of news regarding growth around 6 p.m., I believe is when it is, Eastern Standard Time. So if that's the case, if they are struggling on growth, you can almost expect the U.S. to be doing the same. That's why we started getting a lot of selling, because people are unsure as if growth is going to be affected because of the pandemic. So that could be the major concern there. Again, if there's any kind of outlash towards the U.S., I think might also sink us today. I went all cash today overnight. I'm not really liking the market where it is. It was at all-time highs, but I still think there's some kind of correction. I know other media outlets are pushing that this is just the start of correction, which is essentially introducing more worries and concerns and fears into the market. So being said, I don't really have a watch list today. Again, I'm sticking with FANGs because that's, I think, where it is, even though today mid-cap stocks pushed well today without the help of any of the FANG stocks. Really, the FANG stocks just kind of held today, except for that last hour of the day. But everything else kind of really pushed up. One thing I don't like about what is going on in the markets is the fact that a lot of the FANG stocks don't look good on the daily. The market itself, even if you look on here, a lot of things are breaking down back below the middle Bollinger Band, which, I mean, that's not saying that it's a bad thing, but ultimately it's definitely not good in my opinion. We're looking for a catalyst to sell. We're starting to get some of those catalysts to sell. And one thing I want to remind everybody is last earnings, we have to remember that we had this major run up. I mean, if you look at something even like your Amazon, back in March, we had big run up. You're talking like February-ish. So you had this nice little run up, and then you had this massive selling going into March, right when earnings was. We got the same thing going on this month. We got big tech next week for earnings, and then we have you got your Amazons, your Facebooks, Tesla next week, and then you also have the FOMC meeting next week. So that's essentially how our last earnings went. And even though we crushed earnings, the forward guidance completely crushed Amazon. And then that just kind of was essentially the domino that dropped everything else, and what caused us to sell pretty hard in March. I'm kind of watching that here again because we've had this massive run up the past 2 months, essentially. Now we're starting to see some selling. I won't be surprised if we do see some more pulling back like we did then. You can tell definitely these moves are getting bigger. You had this smaller move up back in February, which we thought was pretty big, and then it pulled back pretty hard. Having this second move up, pull back pretty hard, having the second move up. So now I'm looking for that next pull back a little bit more than what it's at right during earnings. So which would make sense because normally you're used to seeing selling after earnings, but it seems like a lot of these pre-run-ups are getting even more premature. It seems like the more newer traders that come in are expecting this move. So it looks like these run-ups are happening a lot sooner than 2 weeks out. And now these moves are really pushing high. And then it seems like right when earnings hits, these things dive a week or two even before earnings, and then when earnings come out, they pump a little bit if they do well, or they're just dumping and completely dump after a day or two. So that's something to keep in mind. Something I am watching going into this earnings. And again, why I went cash today because of news. And then again, we have earnings. We got Netflix earnings tomorrow. We have IBM earnings today, which they did good. We have Snap earnings later on Thursday. We got Chipotle earnings, Coca-Cola earnings. We have a couple big ones this week. So I really want to see what's going to happen here. Again, if some of the bigger ones start taking hits and selling off, that's a sure tell sign that next week is going to be a little rough. Again, this is all the money in the system, these major pumps, I think, again, riding. But I'm looking again for that next leg down for me to start building bigger positions and going back up again, because we are pretty high to expect us to keep going up higher. I think what we're going to see is a lot of this consolidation. We have kind of bumped up to that new level. I wouldn't be surprised if we start consolidating and then next earnings push up again and then do much more of the same. That's what I'm kind of expecting for the rest of the year. Yes, there's a lot of money in the system. I don't expect major corrections. Today was a pretty big sell-off, but again, on SPY doesn't look great on the daily. QQQ does not look great either. It's underneath a lot of support. This is what I don't like. Again, these are just lines. I mean, they could break through them, anything, news events, push it back up, push it down. I'm just going off of what I see. My analysis is essentially showing me it's back down, which I don't like that it's broken back down below all this, even though we're still very bullish. I'm not saying it's not bullish. We've made one heck of a run. We did break out of trend. But being said, I think we can make one more leg down before we start getting some steam to push back towards the upside, because we have been running pretty hard for the past 2 months. So Tesla, again, on the daily, same thing. It broke down below. I don't like that. It is holding this 620 mark, which is good to see. But again, Tesla is really having a tough time getting it going. It's been kind of really stuck in a range. I think when it does break out to the upside, it will make a massive move, because it's had this big consolidation range for a long time. I have to also realize with inflation and everything, it's kind of normalizing big tech. So you're playing more at ranges that make a little bit more sense, as opposed to a lot of the forward guidance. It's kind of blown out of the water. But being said, Amazon, again, below everything. I don't like that. Shop is another one below everything. That move that over the weekend kind of really put us in a bad spot, which I don't like. Again, the Miller-Bollinger Band, it's not something I've always used. I've used it more over the past couple of months. But you've always get a retest in the Miller-Bollinger Band, and then you get some more selling. And that's what I've always, that's why I use it. At least that first rejection is going to be more selling. So that's what I'm looking for in all these. Even Apple still got some room to sell. Apple can still go to 140, 75 and still be good to keep ripping. I think it's a strong possibility, especially going into Christmas and with the extra money that's going to be allotted. Again, a lot depends. Let's keep going back to what Powell's been saying. A lot depends on what happens with the variants and how serious it gets. It all depends on what Biden is going to say. It all depends what China is going to say. So there's a lot of uncertainty still there. And I thought we've kind of gotten over a lot of that stuff. It took us a long time to kind of get away from that stuff. We did do some good pumping over the past 2 months. But now I think it's stuff is starting to resurface and it's starting to scare people again. And so we're starting to see that again. We're starting to see the fear back in the market again. So correct. And I think we got another correction before we go into start going back into the winter months and start making those runs for Christmas. So definitely have to see how that works. Roblox, I do like. It's not top tier, but I do like it's respecting this downward taper. And so that's something I am watching. It has nice support here. I almost grabbed it. The 75 mark is something I'm really watching. I don't want it to break below that. If it does, I don't want it to sink way below that, possibly even around that 65 mark before I attempt to get back in. I almost took this today, but a lot of mid caps did well today. But I want to stick with, again, the industry leaders. I know BA has been struggling a lot. lot of travel has been affected by inflation, and that's why a lot of travel has taken major hits on everything. So that's when there's been a major pullback in a lot of that stuff. So value has been kind of, it did have a nice bounce, even like when resorts had a nice bounce today, completely to miss this. This has always been a good marker. If it does get around that 100 mark, I typically do buy it. With the inflation and everything, I wasn't sure if it was going to react the same way. But ultimately, if it is hanging around here tomorrow, I'll probably try to pick up some win as well. But yeah, I'm primarily watching FANG. Tonight matters. So I want to see what happens if we do pop up. All right, I'll be looking for pullbacks tomorrow, possibly even swinging some stuff. I just wanted to kind of get more digestion of today and the news that came out with the hacking, with the news with China. That's all new information, and the variant stuff. I know places are starting to get a little more carried away with that as well. So I just want to be mindful of that. So if you watched it this far, remember to hit the like button and subscribe if you haven't already done so. Until next time, guys, I will see you later.